Welcome, everybody. It's Mr. Reality, joined by psychic medium Liz Cross. And Liz, I'm pleased to announce that if you are interested in remote viewing courses, I will be launching the fall course next month. That's going to be a little bit different than the last courses I've tried. So if you're interested, I would definitely email me before it ends that you can't get a spot. Remoteviewit@gmail.com and go to my Ko-Fi page. I'll have more details there later this week. But that's exciting. This is H.P. Lovecraft, probably the most well-known but unknown person during his life in the field of horror writing and just awesome cosmology and horror stories. I wonder if we could talk to the energy of H.P. Lovecraft today, Liz.
I have him here. What would you like to know?
How's he feeling?
Great.
What was he working on just before we called him up?
He was drinking tea with one finger in the air, his pinky finger in the air.
So when he says that, I know he doesn't have hands. Is he joking or is he thinking? Is he like imagining that? Who is he around and hanging out with?
Who are you around and hanging? Ooh, he's in the writer's circle. We
Oh,
all
okay.
sit around and pitch ideas.
Yeah, we've actually spoken with Shakespeare in the writer circle. Is Shakespeare with him as well in that writer circle?
Oh no, his writer's circle is completely different. He likes the
Okay.
weird and the wonderful.
Is Philip K. Dick in the circle with him?
Oh, is Philip K. Dick? Sometimes,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah, we talked to him too. So H.P. Lovecraft, you were pretty much unknown author during your lifetime, and yet now you've grown to critical acclaim in the 1970s when people found your book of Cthulhu and all of your sort of wild claims of the Necronomicon. Where did you come up with your ideas, and how do you feel about, being unknown in life?
How do you feel about me? Well, it's kind of crummy, not
You
getting
made the
credit.
story. You made the trip.
I know, but it is crummy, he says. Now he realizes that recognition is deserved in the lifetime, but he's still very appreciative for the fact that his books were recommended and were they turned into something else as well?
A
That's what
lot
he
of things
said.
been turned into something else, yeah. And he's written probably over 80,000 letters too, so we get to know a lot of his personality from those letters as well. Um, how does he feel about oh, well, let's ask him where the myth of Cthulhu came from. Where was this idea? And is it actual an entity that came to you or just something out of
Hmm.
your mind based on the Kraken?
Where did the myth of Cthulhu come from? Oh, so when he was very little, he had demons or scary monsters come visit him when he was a child. And he said they would always try to like make him frightened, but then instead of being frightened, he would start talking to them and creating a learning about their personality. So a lot of these things were things that came to visit him when he was a child during the night. Hmm.
Yeah, I think he wrote a lot even as a child too. And so he started writing about these things. Was it a dark? Now, can he tell us, does he know, was Cthulhu a real entity?
Was Cthulhu a real? No, it was the tool of the dark, just trying to scare people, a bit like Monsters Inc.
Okay, I haven't seen that either. Does he feel that those negative thoughts or thought forms came through because both of his parents were institutionalized at different points in their life? Did they have like a darkness around them and around the house?
Mm, because the parents were institutionalized. Well, his parents were drug addicts. Okay. Um, but that was a nice way of dealing with withdrawal symptoms is people need to be institutionalized. Okay. Um, did that have an effect? Yeah, it did because he basically had to raise himself.
And so where did that come about? And why was he, what drugs were they on, I guess? Like opium, that was popular back then, if I remember
Wow.
correctly reading. Not that I used
Uh,
opium in the 1910s.
Yes, partially, but there was also some sort of man-made drug substance. It was relatively cheap.
Huh.
They don't make it anymore. It's kind of what he's saying it would be equivalent to like the modern day meth. Of course,
Okay.
then back then though, they thought drug addicts were possessed or demons or extremely mentally ill. Yeah. And they were hallucinating as well.
Okay. How does he feel that his upbringing in Providence shaped him as a writer?
It was everything. Why? Why was it everything? Because it's a spooky place. There's lots of spooky people and spooky places, dark corners, eccentric characters, relatively quite an intelligent community back then, he says. It really shaped his life.
Was he a medium or psychic in that incarnation?
Oh, were you a psychic or a medium in that incarnation? No, but he says I did get visions. He would get visions of what? He would get visions of what he should be writing about, stories. Um, Definitely got visions. Oftentimes when he was about to go to sleep.
Okay. And how can you tell us about one of them, maybe specifically?
Can you tell us about one of them? Yes, there would be this thing floating above him, and he called it Beryl. What do you mean, Beryl? You gave, was it a female? Yes, he believes it to be like a female entity, a female ghost. And what would she say? Oh, I've got an idea for a story. Okay. And sort of what would that, amount to? And it would talk about horrific things that happened. Some of it is kind of real life stuff, um, where people actually believe that myths and legends were true back in the day. So how long ago was Beryl on the Earth plane? Like 400 years ago. So he was definitely having some sort of spiritual interaction with ghosts and entities.
Well, was this entity that you named another one of those trapped entities? And are they still trapped or have they gotten into the doorway for themselves? Keep finding that a lot in this exploration, don't we?
Yeah, no, it's not a trapped entity, but it was just someone coming forward. Where he grew up or where he was, there was a lot of ghost activity in the area, a lot of paranormal, a lot of poltergeist activity as well, exorcisms taking place, things like that. So that's why this shaped his life as well.
How many other authors do you feel helped shape your narrative and your stories, either through correspondence with them or reading them?
Did you have any authors that shaped yours? I mean, most of the stuff that he was exposed to was very pleasant. There wasn't a lot of horror stuff. This was all very new. There wasn't really writings and stories out there. You may have some short stories that were horror based, just like almost oratory storytelling, but nothing like what he did.
You wrote a lot about, non-human places, different cosmologies. You never really labeled it as a system, but we have a lot of that in our, current Hollywood status. It's like a shared universe. And so I want to know because since it was such a new concept, where did this idea of creating like a unique universe for your storytelling come through?
Where did this come through? How did this come through the unique universe of yours? That he said I would go into the deep, dark corners of my mind that he believes were actual places that existed, but they had been long forgotten about, and he would bring them forward again.
Here's another cosmic horror novella, At the Mountains of Madness, which I'm sure no one besides me has read, but it's almost about this ancient, vast alien civilization that disappeared. So, where did he come up with this idea? And is it based on any, local solar system stories or outside of our solar system story?
Where did you come up with this idea? He believes it exists. He says, I feel that it exists. But now you're on the other side. Do you think that it exists? No. But at the time of writing it, he really believed that this was an actual place.
So, how was he able to get that conduit in his incarnation? How was he able to connect with that? And is there a place that exists, or is it complete fantasy that he created?
Now he's on the other side. He says it's complete fantasy, but it certainly felt real to him when he was here. He just would travel, his consciousness would travel. It's a bit like remote viewing, when you're without, it's like, tell us your remote viewing without
Well, we're not going to get
actually
fake
remote
things
viewing.
or fanciful things within the remote viewing course for sure. It's based in reality and it's a structured meditation in a way that you're not really losing your mind, you're not closing your eyes, you're always attentive. And we have error checking to make sure that you don't fall into the trap of fantasy viewing. And I see so many remote viewers out there, not to get off tangent, but you brought it up, are dropped in this fantasy world of not getting verifiable, actualized information, intelligible information. And there's this fantasy world that they create. And they're like, oh, yeah, I was remote viewing, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, you weren't, because you have to be blind to the target. And so you weren't remote viewing at all. So many people, if I had a dollar, Liz, I'd tell you. All right, back to
Yeah, no,
don't give me any
I
tangents about those
totally,
fake remote viewers out there. Oh, they drive me crazy.
I know, but
Let's talk
I
about it.
totally get what you're saying, right? But
Hmm.
for him, he would say, sort of, take me to the place where he would have this idea for a book where the supreme setting, the best setting that would be suited to this particular idea. And that's where he would detach his consciousness, he's telling me, and his consciousness would travel to find this place. And he was reporting back. I mean, okay, it's fantasy remote viewing. He certainly felt it was real when he was here, but that's what he was doing.
So how did religion shape your writing style?
Well, he says it made him go in the opposite direction. He wanted to shock religious figures. What would shock them the most? How can I take some story and entice them in and then shock them to their core as they're reading it to the point where they think they've met the devil themselves?
Yikes.
Yeah.
You
I've
did a very good
never
job
read
about it.
anything.
You got to
I've
get reading
never
out there, I tell you what. Um,
I've never read his
if he
stuff, but
were,
it
if he had
sounds
lived
interesting.
longer, he passed away, I think, from intestinal cancer at 46, and wrote so many wonderful works and stories and mythos. And if you haven't read a lot of his books, I advise you to go back and read some of the old ones because they're fascinating reads as well. Um, but how did you feel your mythos would have evolved had you lived longer?
No, it wasn't supposed to. He was supposed to leave
Why?
um, before he went completely mad. He didn't
Oh,
want to go mad in this lifetime as Lovecraft. He wanted to leave before he lost his mind.
Was he close to that?
He was on the verge.
Does he feel like what would have been the next evolution of his writings if he had lived and hadn't gone mad? And I mean, are there, we see a lot of artists that sort of fall into this trap. So I'm trying to, what's the tightrope of creativity, ingenuity versus madness, you know?
Usually a paycheck, right? No. Okay. What's the tightrope? What is the defining line between creativity and complete madness? It's popularity.
You didn't have that.
Right, exactly, which is why he had to check out of here because he was going mad.
How many incarnations as a human being?
How many incarnations? About 400.
And where are you at on the evolutionary ladder of ascension?
Where are you? Very low, 2.
Why is that?
He just can't seem to get it together. Um, just repeating the same old for so many lifetimes. Same soul family, same parents, same problems, same lack of support, same lack of social structure. He was really socially inept
Well,
in
this
that.
is wife, and he
Mhm.
was married and not married. So I wanted, there's been speculations he may have been, not completely heterosexual, so we can dispel those now. What was the situation between you and Sonia, and what were your preferences for sexuality in your lifetime?
Were you heterosexual? No, he was gay.
He what?
He was gay.
Okay, so the marriage was a ruse.
Well, for him, not for her.
And for his, how could he bundle like the next life to be better than to, or what does he need to do to get to the next step? And he might not know, but maybe we need to contact an agency on the other side to say, even though someone as great as H.P. Lovecraft has all these works, which are admittedly dark, tainted, negative, but have influenced a lot of people and led people to have introspection, what would it take for him to jump to that next ladder step on the ascension level ladder?
What would it take for him to? He really needs to find a new soul family. That is the best way forward. Instead of being this lonely child, raising himself, feeding himself, very little interaction with anyone else. I mean, obviously, it paid off for him and the fact that he became this amazing writer, but it's just the same old, same thing over and over. Parents can't really get over their addictions. Therefore, it's holding everybody back on a soul level. He really should just dump the soul family, find a new one, which isn't easy to do. Oh my God, what is that thing?
Oh, that's, I don't know, one of the mysteries of H.P. Lovecraft horror stories. You'll
Creepy.
find a lot of pulp culture references to H.P. Lovecraft. Is he, does he know that now that we've told him, or is it going to be another run-of-the-mill lifetime with no stepping up?
Do you know that now that we? Yes, he realizes it, but he's not that strong of a soul to make those changes, unfortunately.
Is there a counseling place you can go to on the other side, or is there a like a hall of records you could go to on the other side that has a compendium of all of the written works of history and future and past and present?
Can you go to the Hall of Records? No, you can't go to the Hall of Records. He's telling me. Um, the Hall of Records, he says, is basically in our DNA. It's in our energy field. It's just a nice way of putting it. but can you look at your future using that modality? Yes. And what does the future look like? It looks the same. Starving, struggling artist. Um, I don't know. I wish I could help him, but how many souls do we connect with that we all wish we could help? I mean, I had no time. I would have no time to do anything else if I'm just helping souls on the other side.
You brought up a great point, and it's a good question that it's in the DNA. So, as a soul now talking to H.P. Lovecraft, does he have physical or holographic DNA, or is that leave when we leave the Earth plane?
Do you have physical or holographic? It's holographic, it's energetic. But when we come down in physical form, that energy manifests itself into something physical.
So, is it always holographic form, whether we're incarnate or not?
No, it's physical form when we're here, but it's definitely holographic when we're up there.
Which is more easily accessible for knowledge and, direction in our lifetime? When we're up here or down there? Wait, hang on. Which way am I going? Not down there. I want to go up there, right? That's the plan. So not down there. Um, they got me
Not
tricked.
anytime
Yeah, you don't want
soon,
to go
we
down
hope.
there if you're going to avoid it. So up there is, which is more easily accessible for, you know what I said.
Yeah. We don't want you going up there anytime soon.
Down there. No, you down there or up there, really. Unless it's in the spacecraft that I live in most of the time.
So you can't just get rid of this DNA energy that is holographic up there. You have to use it as a barcode for your next life. See, this is why you can't offload the old issues. You have to, it has to be an energy exchange. It has to be.
Price check in the afterworld. I need a price check on the UPC code.
That's funny.
What's his most proud work? Maybe one that is lesser known than the ones that we're aware of.
He was also very good at sketching, so he's proud of his sketches.
Why did that give him joy?
It was just a good release of energy. Um, it was quiet, it was creative, and it was kind of switching the mind off. Writing is very intensive, he
It was hard.
says. So
Yes.
you just switch off and just draw and sketch.
Was he connecting with any source when he did these sketches, or was it just a brainless doodling? We like to look for messages in there.
Was it just a brain that was doodling? Mostly, it was just allowing, he says, things to come through him to sketch out ideas for his books.
Could he tell us what the missing key is in so many of our lives down here, and even his own life?
What is the missing key? It's access to the all-knowing. That's what is missing. If we had access to the all-knowing, we would be able to ascend quickly and get out of here. But that's what they keep away from us. It's the all-knowing.
Was he fearful of the things that he wrote about? You mentioned he had engaged in conversations with them, but why was he broken because wasn't fearful, or did he have fear and just put it away?
Were he fearful? No, he wasn't fearful. They were like his old friends. Again, it's like Monsters Inc. They would come to scare him, and he's like, "You don't scare me. Who are you?" And then he's having conversations with these entities.
Do any of them find him on the other side? And Well, first that one.
No, they're forbidden to be in the spirit world. It makes you wonder, though, how they came up with the idea for Monsters Inc. Because was this an old concept that they just brought to life? I mean, this is sounding very much like that. Um, let's ask him, how did they come up with the Monsters Inc.? Did a lot of people? No, he said it was a download. So whoever wrote Monsters Inc. got a download
From whom?
from the universe to bring some humor and lightheartedness to monsters that often visit, entities that often visit, to sort of, it's a combating of the darkness in a lot of ways, because now you're looking at it in a white light way, like, oh, they just have, and really that's what the dark is. Oh, it just has a job to do, it has an agenda, and it's doing its job. It's the same thing with what used to visit him. And by looking at it through the lens of Monsters Inc., it makes it not so scary anymore. So that technique of the dark isn't working. It certainly didn't work with him.
Well, debatable in the sense that it reached a lot more people, but the people were reached decades after his passing. So, is that, how would I phrase this to answer the question? Is this new narrative shaping idea, like behind Monsters Inc., generating more of an interest in the dark or more of an interest in the opposite?
Does it generate more? Well, when he was writing, it was more interest in the dark, but they don't so much do this anymore. The dark are finding other ways to get people instead of appearing as monsters and entities, especially to children. Children do that. There's a monster under my bed, or there's a monster in my room. I remember when my oldest son used to say, "Here's that man again." And I'm like, "What man?" And I would turn around and he clearly could see this spirit, this man that would come and visit him. And oh, wait, now he's made himself small. Wait, now he's made himself large. Now he's wide. Now he's thin. And he used to like shapeshift his appearance to, maybe he was trying to intimidate my son, but my son wasn't tired. Wasn't scared of him. He also wasn't ever tired. But uh, let's ask Lovecraft. So was that a switching of the consciousness? Yes, he believes that there has been a switching of consciousness, a growth of consciousness, that these things are no longer effective anymore.
Hmm. What does he think is effective now at scaring the bejesus out of people?
Real life. Real life is effective. You don't need horror stories anymore when you have the news and you have real life.
Looking down, does he have a favorite Halloween arc, maybe story, not his, that he wishes he could have been around for to see?
Do you have a favorite Halloween story? He really has a lot of respect for Stephen King. He says anything by Stephen King. He really admires him as a writer.
Were there points that you were like overly happy in your life?
No, not really. No, he was in depression most of his life.
Why then sign up for a life where you're depressed all that time? If you really make all the choices before you come down, what were you sold the bill of goods on that being a good idea?
That's something he can't just shake and say, "Oh, in my next lifetime, I want to be happy." This is something that he has to resolve, and he has great difficulty with resolving it because of how he grows up. Again, it's that same cyclical soul family thing that he's got going on.
Where did the problem come in his soul family that he feels he can isolate to make him the way that he is?
Where do you think the problem came in? He's always felt rejected, even when they were engaged in tribal lifetimes. He just has always felt this sense of rejection, this sense of I'm not important, no one loves me. Yeah.
So was there a lifetime where it all went to heck? Where did that start? And can he go back? Because what I'm trying to do is something we do in CTT is we look for that emotion point and that anchor point and we transmute it and we heal it. So where was the problem? Where was the disconnect so that maybe we can help him have the power to get out of this rut?
Okay, so that would be, let's find his past life. So, where in your past life did you have this depression? Okay, well, so it's not even a human lifetime. So what is it? Oh my God. It's a lifetime of some sort of insect where he was something that looked very similar to a snail, but he was always retreating back into his shell and he just can't come out. It's just, I'm stuck in this shell. I can't get out. Now, in this lifetime, as Lovecraft, he somewhat got out because of his writing abilities. That was a way he managed to come out of the shell, but he's always had a problem of trying to come out of the shell because if you come out of the shell, it's a very dangerous world out there. So he learned in that lifetime to stay within the shell. And then look, in this lifetime as Lovecraft, he was homosexual in a time where you weren't allowed to be homosexual. You could have been killed, he said. So he had to play this part. He was never allowed to be himself. He's never allowed to be authentic. And that stems from the lifetime in the shell.
So if we were to ask Source how he's able to transmute and move beyond this shell-trapped existence, what would its advice be for him, for us, and for everybody out there?
The
For
advice.
for himself. I don't want to pass judgment upon Source.
Well, it's to remove the fear of being exposed. Because when you're out of the shell, you're exposed. You have to have confidence and you have to have healthy fear, of course, so you don't get killed, but to have unhealthy fear, almost like those like those individuals who can't go out. Did you go out much when you were Lovecraft? No, not
Agoraphobic. Yeah.
really. Yeah, not really. He didn't. He was pretty much inside, didn't really associate with many people. It's a wonder he got married, although he's saying that that was arranged.
So what is he doing to work on the next soul path, incarnation, cycle, and when will it be for him?
When are you coming back? Within 50 years, he's coming back. And what are you doing? He's leaving it to his wife from that lifetime. They're making another contract in this lifetime to bring him out of his shell. So now he's relying on someone else, unfortunately. But there's still time. Hopefully, after this discussion today, he will see that he needs to be a lot more engaged and a lot more self-reliant.
All right. Liz Cross, thank you very much. H.P. Lovecraft, thank you for joining us today. It has been a fascinating dive into your life and your ethos and your mythos. I'm sorry. We appreciate each one of you out there. Thank you again for joining us, and we love to hear your comments and suggestions. Please like, share, and subscribe, and go to patreon.com/remote viewing and beyond to support Liz Cross and her family. And we look forward to seeing you guys next time.
Yeah, this is great. And don't forget, Mr. Reality, who put this together, has a tip jar listed down below.